that your morning is turning out to be just fine. Ours is awesome. Trust me, we're having a blast. And after discussing politics, we'd like to go into other issues that are affecting our day-to-day lives. It's Tuesday, and you know how we do it. It's all about health today. But today we'd like to incorporate health and discuss also another topical issue that is happening around the country. For a very long time, and when I say long time, I mean a very long time, we've had the conversation around safety in our schools. And courtesy of what happened over the weekend at Moi Girls, we needed to have a conversation this morning around safety in our schools, and most especially the psychotherapy support that needs to be accorded to the relatives and the friends of the girls who lost their lives at Moi Girls. We do continue to offer our condolences to the family and friends. We stand with you at this trying time, and may God's peace be upon you. And I've got a panel of two in studio this morning. I've got Njoki Ndiba, who is a psychotherapist. She is with us in studio. The lady to my extreme left, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And to my immediate left, I've got education advocate, Peter Amunga. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
How are you doing this morning?
We are fine.
Right.
We're blessed. I join you and I join the rest of the Kenyans to really send my, condolences to the family, friends, staff, board of management at Moi Girls, Nairobi. Surely it was a sad incident. And look at the papers this morning and you saw the picture of the young girl who was helping the other girls.
Exactly.
And, she was aiding them out and she was so selfless, I like the way the media has put it that she's an angel and she's resting with the angels, and we just say Paul to the family and the rest of the everybody involved in the Moi Girls fraternity.
Absolutely, Njoki. I'd like to cross over to you, opening remarks on this issue.
Like my colleague here, I would like to take this opportunity to send my sincere condolences to the families of the bereaved schoolgirls, and to the teachers of Moi Girls, and to the family members, to the workers, and this country at large. Indeed, it was a very, very, very sad thing to happen. But nonetheless, I am glad they are getting help. Kenyans have come out in a big way to support, to listen to these people who are suffering, and I want to believe that all will be okay. It will take time, but nonetheless, there is hope.
Absolutely, there is hope. And Peter, crossing over to you, you've been a teacher in high school for decades.
Yes.
And this conversation about safety in our schools, we've had it over and over and over. If we were to recall Changuli, if we were to recall Bombolulu, just to mention but a few, Nyeri High.
Yes.
What usually is the problem? We've had reports on this issue. Why don't we see them get properly implemented?
When you mentioned Nyeri High, I was actually a student at Nyeri High School.
Yes.
And when it happened in Nyeri High, we were so affected as old boys of the school. The truth of the matter is this, that the issue of safety in schools, for many years, when schools started, when the missionaries began schools in Kenya, it was not an issue. The issue was that schools were like family. People just stay and live like brothers and sisters in that school. It was a community. But as days go by, and as technology comes in, and modernity comes in, and many young people are watching media, they are on social media, there are issues of things like, things that we never used to hear about, things like satanism, things like drugs and drug abuse. Now, these things were not present in the early years when schools in Kenya began. But as days go by, we start seeing now a situation whereby we must address issues to do with drugs, issues to do with the psychology. Actually, right now, every school in this country needs to have a psychology department, a guiding and counseling department. Because right now, the children that are in schools are not the children that were in schools 10, 20, 15 years ago. The children we have right now in schools are what we call, some of us as teachers, Like in my staff room, I taught in Kakamega High School, and for many years we used to talk to the generations that we'll keep seeing come in our school. We used to refer to some of it as the Cerelac generation, the Blueband generation, you know, all this kind of thing. So we are having different generations coming. And as they come, we need to have specialized people, not just teachers now. It's no longer about teachers. It's not about trained people, maybe chaplains in schools, maybe counselors and people who deal with psychology in schools, so that we are dealing now with a group of people that it's like they're evolving every day. Things are changing every day.
Right.
And that is what we are facing now.
That is what we are facing. Crossing to you, Njoki, Peter did mention the aspect or the element of having a psychology department in each and every school. What is the importance of having this?
If I was in a position of power, that would be mandatory in every school.
Yes.
Because when children go to school, they go with all kinds of issues. And teachers are just trained to teach academics. But when you have a professional in the school, you know, when Johnny is sent out of the classroom because he's disrupting the class, it's not that Johnny is just a naughty boy. Johnny could be having other kinds of problems like attention deficit, like attention, you know, all kinds of disorders exist. So if you have a person who is trained in that area, a person who can look at a child and assess, then they will give sound advice to the parents so that this problem is taken care of before it gets out of hand. Because most of the times when these children go to school, they deal with all kinds of things. But then again, they're in elementary, they can manage to get away with it. They go to high school, they get away with it. But as they continue to climb up, as things become tougher, they go to college, they cannot cope with the pressure because they have other underlying mental health issues. And that is why it is very important that we have. I see some schools, and particularly private schools, they have trained professionals in that area. And I see even public schools now, they have guidance and counseling. I think what needs to be done is to be enhanced. And we need to keep talking about mental health issues in our schools and with our children, because it's very, very critical for the future.
Very, very critical for the future. There's something that really came up strongly, even as Education CS, Fred Matiang'i addressed the nation yesterday on this very matter. And he revealed, among other things, that this was arson. And it takes me back, even to some of the cases we are citing here today, Changuli, Nyeri High. Yes. That was the issue. Yes. Arson, twice, thrice. Now we are talking about arson. Anyone would ask why?
Actually, the issue about arsons and fires in schools, it's something that was almost unheard of in the missionary times, in the early 80s and even early 90s. The reason why this could be there, and which we are hearing the word arson, is, as I said, the modernity that we are trying to embrace. Starting with this, let me just give examples. Right now as a teacher, when I taught in Kakamega High School, when I started teaching in 1991, I was allowed to cane a child who came around and was playing around and was not serious about his academics and was indisciplined. He knew if he falls in my hands, he has fallen in a big problem. Right? He'll be at a chapwa. There was no joke about it. And it was just kind of normal that if you make noise in school, actually parents used to allow their children to go to school because they knew the children will get good discipline in schools. Right now, a few years ago, I took a study leave from teaching just a few years ago, I think a year or two ago. And as I did that, by that time, the laws of this land do not allow me even to pinch a child. So as a teacher, my hands in that school are tied. I am only a teacher. I go to teach. There is a circular to the effect, there is everything to the effect that I can do nothing else than to teach the child I've gone to teach. So even if the child comes to class and removes his tie and does whatever he can do, the best I will do is to watch or to guide, as Madam here, Daktari here puts it. The best we can do is to send that child to the guiding and counseling department to find out what is the problem. So the child can do anything. And if you listen, I'm on social media of most of these teachers on there Twitter and WhatsApp groups and Facebook accounts. Most teachers, even after the fire in Moi Girls, and by this it was not only the fire in Moi Girls. Just this weekend there have been around 4 fires reported in schools. Chuka boys, there was a fire in Sigot Girls in Nyakach.
Bahati
Girls.
in Nakuru this morning, they're reporting, yes.
So these fires are not that, it's just Moi Girls in Nairobi. These fires, and last year there were 167 fires reported in secondary schools and primary schools. Now, the reason most of them are saying is that the parents are too busy looking for money, parents are too busy going about their duties, and teachers also have reached a place whereby they are in school to check the mean score, just the mean score, which is the academics of the school. So we are now reaching a place where we are saying the boarding department in schools cannot be left to teachers to run. Teachers are not trained to be boarding masters and to be, I was in Kenyatta University to train as a teacher, B.Ed education. At no point in my course, all through the courses I did, was there a course called boarding department. Now, this is how to run a boarding school. This is how to run the children when they go to sleep, how to watch over them. Actually, if you look at TSC, teacher service, it is just the other day after the fires that a few things were put into the teacher's code of conduct. To do with boarding. Otherwise, there was actually nowhere in our guiding, in our code of conduct to do with just purely boarding. And so in developed countries, boarding is left to professionals. I'm talking about housekeepers, people taught in hotel management, people taught about safety and fire. We don't have that in our secondary schools in Kenya. And that's a reality. So we are depending on the goodwill of a teacher. Just a teacher like me walk into class, and also I'm supposed to be a good chaplain, I'm supposed to be a good pastor in the school, I'm supposed to be a jack of all trades. And that is now where teachers are also running away from. They are saying, we are only paid to teach. So let me teach and go home.
The rest, none of my business. He mentions a lot, but let's begin with the issue of caning. Is it necessary in this day and age?
Well, I think studies have shown that if you can structure the place, a place of learning, structure the place, work with the child, be able to identify, is this child having other issues? And then even looking at the age, you must understand the age of this child, how they are supposed to behave at that age. And that is why we talk about it's very important. You know, even the teachers may be getting, some training. If this child is in, this student is in Form 1, how are they supposed to behave like? If they are in kindergarten, how are they supposed to behave like? Because there is a plethora of issues that are involved. There is no single bullet that we can say, if we do this, then we are not going to get fires in our schools. For example, we've been reading in the papers about this student who has threatened to burn the school, has, tried to commit suicide. That is an indicator right there. That's a red flag. The student should have been taken for treatment. The parents should have been involved. That is very, very critical. The other thing, the population, now it's not like the times when we went to school. We had small classes of 40, 35. We have one instructor with 70 students.
Plus.
The dormitories are crammed. They are crowded. Then when something happens, these children, they will just stampede all of them at once. There's also the issue of carelessness. The structures in place, they are not supposed to have grills, and even for those who do not have, there is some bit of laxity. We need to talk about this over and over, and it should be taken very seriously if a matron or the person responsible is not doing their jobs, because we don't need to lose lives. And then even looking at every student and reporting, if it is the instructor or the teacher, they need to report to the counselor what is happening. And that cannot be taken for granted. It should be taken very, very, very seriously, because some of these students, some are depressed, some have anxiety, some could be even bipolar or borderline, all those kinds of issues. Yeah. Those issues are real and they are here with us. Mental health is something that has a lot of stigma in this country, and it is just about time we start addressing that.
Yes. And when you look at the structure of education as it is, what is lacking?
A lot of things are lacking. Let's start with, first of all, just policies and guidelines towards safety in schools. Okay, right now as I speak, there is a manual. I would have carried it this morning. There is a manual that was released by the Ministry of Education on safety in schools, about having fire extinguishers in the dorms, about the structure of a dorm, how a dorm should look like. Actually, if you look at the policy that comes from government, there is a clear guideline that a dorm should have 3 big doors, 1 at the front and 2 on the sides. And all of them should open from the outside, so that if there's a stampede, the kids can bang and as they leave, all of them at once. It's not supposed to be locked from either inside or something like that. All these guidelines are there. But now, as you've asked a good question, what is lacking? Supervision, my brother. What is lacking in this country is enforcement of laws. The laws are there. The policies have been put in place. Matiang'i, the few days he has been in office, has put in place so many guidelines on what should be done and not done. But it takes Matiang'i again himself to leave his office and go to a school to find out that there's no teacher in that class or there are no books, because Matiang'i has released the money for the books, but the books, the kids are sharing the books. Even in the dorms, now it's going to reach a place whereby Matiang'i has to leave his office in Jogo House and go all the way to a school in Kakamega or Mumias or in Machakos to supervise the building, the construction of a dorm.
Exactly.
The problem we are having is we Kenyans don't take sometimes things seriously.
We don't take things seriously, and at that note, we'd like to take a short break, and we'll be right back with this discussion. Remember, we're discussing schools safety, so keep it right. In case you've got any question, hit our feedback platforms, 22162 on SMS, hashtag GMKKBC on Twitter. Welcome back to the program. And before we took a break, Peter Amunga here, an education advocate, was talking about what exactly could be lacking in our schools when it comes even to the structures. And before we went on a break, Peter, you were describing something to do with dormitories.
Yes.
And the guidelines that are in place
Yes.
on how dormitories
Yes,
should look like. Let's pick it up from there.
The ministry has a guideline. Actually, the problem we have is not policies and structures, because the ministry has even designed for principals of schools how a dormitory should look like, where the doors should be. There should be no grills on windows. There should be a fire extinguisher in the dorm. There should be, all these things are written down. They are well laid down from the ministry. The problem is that we as teachers and as parents and board of management of schools, we sometimes take things so easily. We just believe, you know, God is there, God is in control. We will sleep, we'll wake up, the sun will rise, the sun will go down. So we kind of never imagine that these things will happen. It is until it has happened that we start asking ourselves, where did we go wrong? But I can assure you, even from the small rumors we are hearing, from what we are reading from a few places, a few things in the Moi Girls fire were not in place. And you know, maybe as days go by, as the investigations go by, this information will be released to the media. But every time you hear about arson in schools, you'll discover there was some disregard to the laws that were laid down. And we are saying, teachers, must we wait for Matiang'i to come from Jogo House to go to your school for you to realize that you need to follow the law? Must Matiang'i do this? And apart from just Matiang'i, Ministry of Education has got education officers on the ground. There are so many well-paid, well-trained. Most of them were teachers before. Before you become a Minister of Education officer, you are a teacher. Now, these people are supposed to be ensuring that schools are meeting safety standards. But most of these guys have a way of looking aside, giving a deaf ear to some of these things. It is after it has happened. Right now, I can assure you, the person in charge of that area where the school burned in Nairobi, Kibera, the person in the ministry in charge right now is facing questions at the ministry headquarters. Did you ever check the dorms? Did your department? Because these things are also there. In Kenya, we have got the best laws, politically, even in academics. In many areas, we have some of the best laws in the world. The problem is enforcing the laws. Implementing the laws.
Yeah.
But we have those laws, my brother. All Kenyans, and even as parents, when you take your child to a school like, say, Alliance Girls or Alliance Boys, don't just leave the child at the gate. Tell the headmaster or the teacher in charge, can I visit the dorms? Can I visit the toilet facilities? Can I look around? It is your right as a parent to ensure also that the school that your child is in is adhering to the safety standards, to health standards. There are many other standards that a school needs to adhere to before a school is even registered. Safety of the toilets. We had a situation whereby in a school in Kapsabet, a toilet, a pit latrine sank with a child inside. Literally. So as a parent, when you go there, find out this school has pit latrines. Which conditions are the pit latrine? This is part of safety and it's part of health.
I'd like to come to you, Njoki. Addressing of grievances in schools. Yet another issue. Conflict between amongst the student population. We're looking at either Form 1s, Form 2s, Form 3s, Form 4s, the students and the prefects, students and teachers, all these grievances. Some have contributed to the history we have in terms of fires in this country. How can we get dispute resolution right in schools to ensure that we reduce or even do away with some of these instances once and for all?
I think this is the responsibility of everybody in the school. We have the guidance counselor, even the teachers themselves, even the principal of the school, the board itself. For instance, when students report, like Form 1 students, they should be initiated, they should be talked to and guided accordingly. That is and it should not stop there. They should keep on at it and trying to resolve issues among the students, among the teachers. It's just keep on talking. They're not going to be transformed overnight, but this is something that has to keep on happening. Yeah, because there is no silver bullet to this.
Right.
Yeah.
And also there's been the issue of privilege, which often comes with added responsibility. You're a prefect, so you are entitled to.
Yes.
You have this additional responsibility you are entitled to. Is this mode or code of conduct in schools appropriate?
It is appropriate because to become a prefect, as far as I know, you have to earn that position. First of all, your academic performance has to be good. Your overall conduct has to be good. And when something goes wrong in a school, what happens is that they are demoted. So I think it is appropriate because we train these students for future leadership. Yes.
Is it appropriate, Peter?
No, I may differ in one way or another because especially when we read about the Moi Girls incident, we are told this dorm was for Form 1s. It's all over, that all Form 1s seem to be in this one dorm. If I was the principal of that school or any school, that's one mistake I'll never make. I need to mix up these kids because we need senior children who have been in this school for several years to mix with the junior students in this school so that in case a problem occurs, like the angel that we are talking about who passed on last evening.
Who's in the papers today.
Yes, this angel, we are told, she was shouting and helping the others to come out of the dorm. She's also a Form 1. Now, assuming she was a Form 4 or a senior girl in the compound, maybe she would have been telling the others to come out maybe using other better means. You know, she just, you know, in her way, she felt she's doing the right thing. But you know, she also put herself at a big risk. Now, imagine if it was a Form 4 student who has been there for 4 years. Maybe this student will know another way of escape for other children, maybe something that they could do, maybe what the fire extinguisher is, maybe how to put on the fire extinguisher. You know, all these things come into play. So what I'm trying to say here is this. It is good to recognize, as Madame puts it, Daktari puts it, to recognize the seniority of the kids and the responsibilities of the kids. But some of the mistakes we make, like in Nyeri High, the Nyeri High incident, the prefects were burnt because there was a prefect's cubicle. So everybody knew the prefects live in this cubicle. So the boy who hates the prefect went and lit up the head boy's cubicle. Now, in a school like Stare, what I've seen, I'm not maybe advocating for them, but I've discovered even the teacher, the house master, has, if you visit Stare Boys, the house master sleeps in that dorm. His house is attached to the dorm. I think it's also the same in Kenya High, whereby the dormitory has also a house for the teacher. I think the designers of those schools, Kenya High, I think even Nairobi School, those were schools who were designed a long time ago with the missionaries and the Europeans when they are still around. So they designed them in such a way that they also put the housemaster's house right next to the building. So actually, the teacher in charge is also part of the dormitory members. And also the housekeeper and other people also have got their offices and their whatever right in that dormitory. But that doesn't happen now in our Arambe schools and our CDF schools and other schools.
I agree with what my colleague is saying,
yes.
but I can tell you, I've visited several schools, and now it is mandatory. Most of them actually have principals' houses or deputies in the compound so that they can watch over the students at night. And I partly agree with what you're saying, but again, at the same time, there has been complaints. When Form 1s are put together with others, they are harassed, and so they want to start by being by themselves.
But again, it's a good thing that you've raised that, Njoki, because at what point do we distinguish discipline and safety? Because even when it comes to the guidelines that Peter was mentioning, I recall, to the best of my knowledge, that there is a guideline about grills in windows, in dormitories. And you will find there are some schools that have grills, and very firm ones at that. And the issue is that there are some students who are sneaking back into the dormitories when learning is happening. So that's a discipline issue. So why mix discipline and safety? Why not distinguish the two? If it's discipline, deal with discipline. If it's safety, address safety.
As we speak today, September 2017, there is no dormitory that is supposed to have grills. That is out of order.
Yeah, it's illegal.
There shouldn't be. Yeah, there shouldn't be.
But
they should be left.
But it's happening.
Yeah,
it is happening.
Yes, that is why all the teachers in schools, the prefects, everybody, the board, the parents, they must make sure that the dormitories do not have grills.
But that's the good question you've asked there. The problem now is that, say a school in Kibera like Moi Girls, is in Kibera, right next to the biggest slum in Africa and I think in the world. Now, the principal of the school is worried about several things, even maybe the board of management. For example, they're asking themselves, what if somebody comes from, sneaks into the dorm and does something bad to the girls?
That's not an
What
excuse.
No,
There should
you see
be,
now,
the
those-
school should be
those
secured
are
with
the
a
issues.
perimeter wall. There
No.
should be security.
Before
so
we
that
get
is
to
not
the
an excuse.
dormitories,
Yeah.
Peter, have your moment.
Yes.
Make your point.
So at the end of the day,
Yes.
as a teacher in this school, like say I teach in a school right inside in Garissa, where now even issues of terrorism are also coming up. I need to really think very fast, like how do I protect my learners in this school, for example? You may not be given, and this is the truth, you will not be given policemen to guard your school. Normally a school will depend on a few watchmen paid for by the board of governors. And these watchmen maybe just come from the community around. They are the same watchmen who may be sneaking in a few things like bangi, like what. Listen, friends, even in Kamiti Maximum Prison, things are sneaked in. We hear of people using phones in Kamiti Prison to reach out to some of us and threaten us out here.
Yes.
So if it can happen in Kamiti, it can also happen in a school. So you discover as a principal, you are dealing with so many cases in your office arising from the fact that the dorms, the windows are not having grills. So at one point you get tired and you just say, no, let's lock up these windows. But the question you asked is, now how do you, where is the line between
Cast the line.
The line between safety and discipline?
And discipline.
They go hand in hand. So there's nothing you can.
Is that your take, Njoki?
No. Safety is of paramount importance. Discipline, I mean, you cannot force children when they are of a certain age. You cannot. The only thing you can do is to work with them, is to talk with them, include their parents in the conversations or in sessions. They must have those sessions from school if it is hard. If they have deeper underlying issues, then they need to be referred to a mental health practitioner. Yes.
What I want to say is
It's not going to be the best, but you have to try. We have to change the way we think so that we change the way we do things. Yes, because we cannot say that it is impossible. We try so that at least we land somewhere. If we don't reach the moon, we reach the flag post.
Somehow we get somewhere.
Yes.
I remember in high school, the principal we had was feared. I think he was Everybody thought he was like a god or something, some kind of local almighty. Because of the fact that his presence alone, when he stood or he did something alone, that was enough to send all of us panicking. Today, the kids don't mind, even if they see the principal there, they can do their thing.
Mr. Amunga, you know, how many were you in class? It's not like today. We have so many students in school, in the dormitories, they are crammed in classrooms. You need to visit schools these days and see, even those national schools.
Oh, it is terrible.
Actually, the population in this country is high.
We were raising money for a school here in Nairobi. Another girls' school, State House Girls, had a big harambe to raise money for their because the dorms are full, and parents are demanding for this school. With free education, all these schools have become so attractive. A school like Moi Girls, Nairobi must be very attractive. Any parent will be very glad to have a child in that school.
Not to mention the upgrade.
And
some of them were upgraded.
Yes, they were upgraded.
Yeah.
Now they are national schools. They were not
National
national
schools,
schools
yes.
before. So the demand for the schools are high, as Dr. Njoki puts it. The issue now is we don't have enough teachers. We don't have enough manpower. We don't have enough people in the psychology department. We don't have enough security. The money coming sometimes from the ministry comes a bit, like just a few days ago is when the money was released to the schools. All these things come into play. So when this principal is held responsible, why did this happen? The principal will say things like, I didn't even have the money to do this. I don't have money for fire extinguishers. I don't even have money sometimes maybe to feed the girls. So these things also come into play, and you discover they are also affecting the running of a school.
But we've discussed precaution a lot in this show for the past several minutes. Let's take a look at response. In the event there is an accident of that nature, in the event it is triggered, how should the response be, Peter?
First, the school should have put measures, things like fire extinguishers. Like in the army or in the military or even in a company like where we are here, you will discover there are things like, I saw like Riara University one time held something like an anti-fire drill, I don't know, anti-terror drill, that in case terror was to hit their university, what will they do? Now, these are things that now all schools now need to reach a place. Put in place drills, fire drills. In case of a fire in a school like Moi Girls, Eldoret, or Moi Girls, Nairobi, what do we do? Where do we assemble? How do we come out? How do we raise alarm? These drills are not in schools. We need them now. Now we must demand that they be done. Number two, the teacher should be trained in firefighting and fire safety, because the teacher is the person who is in charge. We need now in our curriculum, in the teachers training colleges and teacher universities, we want to see change of curriculum now to include modernity. How to fight terror, how to fight fire. These are now important emerging issues that are not there in our curriculum. They're not even in our schools. Actually, when Form 1s arrive in a school, the first 1 week of orientation should include firefighting. In case of a fire, what happens? In case of terror, what happens? These are things that were not there when Father Francis Carey of Allah's Boys was starting to teach. Now, but these are now things that are there. Now, we cannot fold our hands and wait for the fire to occur, then we start pointing fingers. Start today in your school. Hold a fire drill. Number three, we must employ now people who are experts in fire and people who are experts in psychology, like Dr. Njoki. Dr. Njoki's department in the university now must have more people so that we have this either refresher courses by teachers or we have people employed in schools to talk to our children about fire and about also their mental health and their psychology. So these are some of the things that now we need to be thinking about. But again, what about our fire, what are they called, those vehicles?
Firefighters.
Firefighters. Do we have enough? Even like now in Nairobi. At what time did the fire engine arrive? Did it even arrive? That's the question, by the way, nobody seems to be telling me. I've not even seen a single picture of a fire engine inside Moi Girls after that fire. How was it put off? Something tells me people just put it off by twigs and by water jerrycans or things like those. Because our schools now, a school like Moi Girls, which is hosting over 1,000 girls, must have a clear policy of, in case of a fire, how does a fire engine arrive at the school? There should be an alarm that rings at at the city hall, immediately to summon a fire engine into the school.
Into the school. Dr. Njoki, in terms of the trauma that this has caused, both at a macro level, we're looking at the nation and the education fraternity, down to the micro level, the family and relatives of those affected, the students themselves of Moi girls. How should the response to the trauma be, from a macro to a micro level?
The normal human reaction when such events happen, it's that it just throws everybody in total disarray. It creates what we call emotional disequilibrium. So what needs to be done is what is happening now. The professionals go out in air and talk to the public. Then we zero in, we go to the school, and that has been happening very well. And deal with all the staff members, the parents, then the students, and then identify as you assess the students, then they can have one-on-one interventions. You know, listen to them, that is very important, and then create plans for the future. Because if this is not handled, then there's likely to be a crisis. Yes.
I want to believe, like, the class where these girls were, even the dorm, we need a lot of counseling. And I mean, we need people to be in that school immediately. They have to be deployed in that school, because those kids, even if you had your daughter who was learning with this girl we are reading about right now, and this girl is the one who helped her to get out of the fire, and the girl passes on, and you know, and you are to go back to that school, that psychology, those kids are affected. Let me just start from the kids. As a teacher, I can understand. I've been in a class to teach after one of the kids maybe has had a road accident and passed on, and I go back to that class in the morning. To bring back that class to start listening to what I'm teaching, it takes a lot of work in terms of mental stability. Because those children reach a place, you know, to perceive death, the word death, even for us as adults, death is a very big thing. Now you can imagine to a Form 1. It's a big issue. Talk about her desk mate. Talk about her bed mate. Maybe they are sleeping on the same decker. Now, you take back your daughter to that class before you have worked on her mentality and her psychology. You've not done anything good. And I don't know, Prof, you'll tell us on this one. Me, I've handled issues even after such an issue. The girl starts saying, or the boy starts saying that we are seeing now, they are seeing things. You know, even when they go to the toilet at night, they can't go. There's fear. Actually, the word fear comes in. There's fear that I'm seeing things. They see shadows moving around, and all these things start affecting the girl's psychology. I don't know how.
That is why I said, after somebody has done some assessment, then they should follow up, because these kids are affected by what we call post-traumatic stress disorder.
Exactly.
It is very real, and that is why you put plans in place, and these children should continue getting some intervention from a professional.
I'd like to stick with you, Dr. Njoki, and address the issue of pressure and how people react to pressure. Among the stories and angles that have been covered to this particular fire is the reaction of one Japheth Kome. And there are sections, police commandant, and there are people who feel he harassed some of the parents. And his reaction to this was not exactly as expected. I mean, when you're in this kind of situation, even for the police service, what should be the proper mode or the proper heat of reaction for them?
I think they should get a professional to go out there, not a police officer in a case like this, even though the police officer can come in later, because these parents are very delicate. The teachers are very delicate, the students, everybody. So this is something that needs to be handled with utmost care. Yes.
Utmost care.
I like what happened at Westgate. When things happened at Westgate, you remember? Professional psychologists like you, Daktari, moved in voluntarily. They didn't even wait to be told. And you know, I wish we could be having such situations in our schools. Right now, we need people, Amani counseling, all of you guys, to come in very strongly and help our schools. Not only Moi, Eldoret, but many other schools that are going through this kind of trauma.
I want to give credit to Kenyans, the professionals, because actually they have been out there in, you need to visit the place. They have a large number of counselors who have been offering their services free of charge.
Free of charge.
Some are calling. They have a line where you can call and talk to the teachers. Yeah, so that is happening. Kenyans are very generous.
And
Yes.
yes, we are a generous
Yes.
nation, aren't we? And we'd like to wind up the interview at that note. It's 2 minutes to the top of the hour. I take this opportunity to thank you, Dr. Njoki Ndiba, a psychotherapist, and Peter Amunga, an education advocate. My name is Samuel Njoroge. On behalf of the entire production crew that has made this production a reality, my colleagues Martin Mwanje and Safina Chieng, we do thank you for keeping us company from 6 a.m. all the way till now. Thank you so much for that. God bless you all abundantly. Enjoy your Tuesday, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.